Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1:30. Welcome to the Town Hall, our annual Town Hall meeting. We have a lot to cover today. So just a few reminders that there is no chat function available on this webinar today. There is a Q&A function. So please, as Ali covers a series of topics ranging from social justice to the update on our campus environment to the budget and our new college of science, health, and pharmacy, let's hold our questions to the very end. And I'll take those questions and we'll address all of those. So there'll be plenty of time to do that. So that's pretty much it. Everything should flow pretty seamlessly, and we're monitoring things, and we're monitoring the Q&A. So Ali, I'm gonna turn it over to you and we'll get started.
Okay. Thank you, Michael, and thank you to your entire team to support today's broadcast. And welcome everyone, including our trustees and especially our new trustees, to the Town Hall for Fall 2020. It is hard to believe that it has been 8 months since the pandemic started and COVID-19 became household words and changed pretty much every aspect of our lives. Unfortunately, as of today, 215,971 Americans have died due to this virus, according to Johns Hopkins University. Let us think for a moment about their loved ones and their families. I continue to be proud and truly astounded by our Roosevelt community's efforts, resilience, flexibility, and display of patience and humanity during this very challenging time. This afternoon, as Michael mentioned, I plan to discuss with you 4 general topics. 1, racial justice. 2, update on return to campus. 3, a budget update. And finally, integration of Robert Morris and the new college. And right after that, we get to question and answer. On the first one, specifically how our mission of social and racial justice and our responsibility to support this movement and advocate for it continue to ingrain racial justice in our education and make your voices heard. The impact of COVID-19 on our health, families, jobs, economy will be having a significant effect with long-term consequences, especially during one of the most consequential elections of our time. On return to campus today, I'll be providing an update on our progress and review with you what I know and what is in place already, including about the university's 2020 and 2021 calendar schedule, athletics, and graduation ceremony. And on budget, we recently announced news regarding the deficit, and I will go over that with you and why we had to take immediate action due to factors having financial impacts on the university today and in the long term. These were not easy decisions to make, but what I can say is that our investment around educating our students will continue, and we will always be looking for ways to not just create efficiencies, but also find strategic partnerships for new revenue sources. And finally, on the 4th topic, we are all very pleased about the announcement of the new College of Science, Health, and Pharmacy, the opportunities it creates for not just current students, but also for potential students who would like to earn a degree in the expanding healthcare industry in a very unique and holistic way at Roosevelt. This college could not have existed without the successful integration of Robert Morris that was finalized in March of this year. Now, we will leave time for you to ask questions, as Michael mentioned, And me and our colleagues will respond to your questions at the conclusion of the town hall. Well, on topic number one, racial justice. To begin, we not only have a pandemic, but there's a movement happening in our nation, a much needed one, a movement to end racial injustice and create systemic change in our laws, in our government, and overall behaviors. We have seen, and some of you participated in, powerful grassroots organized efforts in order to make your voices heard and influence policy change. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is now heard around the world, but it needs to result in policy action locally and federally, and from an overall societal standpoint. It is incumbent upon us as faculty and staff to let our students know we care, particularly about our Black students, given the current unrest in the country and right outside our doors in the city. Let's not shy away from the uncomfortable topic and just assume that because of our social justice mission, our students know about racial injustice. Let's encourage and have difficult conversation with our colleagues and our students so we are a better educated community. Nothing we're doing today can make up for centuries and decades of racial injustice or the brutal targeting of Black Americans. Together, I believe that if we keep working together in an organized effort, we can change our society. We can create a future where all Black people, Native Americans, and others are treated with respect, dignity, and afforded equal rights and protection under the law. At Roosevelt, this is our mission, but we have also instituted new programs to support this important issue. In fact, the September retreat of the Board of Trustees was entirely devoted to a workshop on racial justice under the leadership of Pat Harris, Chair of the Board of Trustees. Thank you, Pat, for your leadership in this regard. Now, we have several diversity-based initiatives that are supported through the Office of Multicultural Student Services, including the newly launched Black and Latino Male Mentoring Program, the Black Student Equity Fund, and New Era Scholars Program. And significant discussion is taking place in first year and other classes about racial justice, with faculty leading the discussions. Today we have raised $60,000 for the Black Student Equity Fund, half of which will go to student scholarships. Scholarship applications are open, and as of today, over 10,000 have been awarded to eligible students. The New Era Scholars Grant supports incoming freshman students who are African American, graduates of Chicago Public Schools, and Pell eligible. Now, interestingly, this grant was made possible by a generous private donor who was affiliated with Robert Morris and was introduced to Roosevelt during the integration. I do want to stress that our board, friends, donors, alumni are extremely supportive in all we do around this important issue. Get out and vote. Your voice matters. And voting is the best thing you can do to support the change that you all want. November 3rd is also a paid day off with no classes. So vote and spend the day volunteering at your local polling place, writing to your elected leaders or contacting community leaders on ways to get involved in an organized way to make a difference and create the change that you want. I just saw a graphic, by the way, in Katrina Coakley's first year class that has some great ideas for students' involvement in this regard. Now, we need to fight against the type of actions our current federal government is issuing, like the recent executive order on combating race and sex stereotyping. That's the name of the executive order. In fact, I read that already 2 universities are halting their diversity efforts due to the White House's order against divisive concepts, as it was said, in federally funded programs. Now, let me read to you the introduction of this executive order, because I think it's illuminating for you to understand. It says, I quote, "By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America," etc., and in order to promote economy and efficiency in federal contracting, to promote unity in the federal workforce, and to combat offensive and anti-American race and sex stereotyping and scapegoating. End of quote. So we're now going to talk about diversity and get rid of our diversity issues because it might be perceived as anti-American and sexually stereotyping and scapegoating. It seems very ironic to me. This antagonism towards teaching about our racial history has to stop. We are taking steps backwards when we have made a lot of progress as a nation and even a world on having your voices heard in this regard. So please continue this fight. We will continue this fight at Roosevelt University. And please let us, the administration, faculty, staff, know on ways we can help to support and participate in the cause of racial justice for all of us. Now, on topic 2, update on return to campus. To date, we have had very low number of positive cases on campus. As of this date, we have had 2 residential students that tested positive and 14 commuter students who had been on campus. But I'm told that none of them, their COVID started on campus. They contracted it elsewhere. And we just got the results of the wastewater testing that we did in our building in Wabash. And the results were negative, no COVID cases. Now, keep in mind that overall, these numbers are for all 4 of our campus locations combined: Chicago, Schaumburg, Peoria, and Waukegan. So based on contact tracing, none of these cases originated on campus, as I mentioned, a true example on how well our team is managing the pandemic so far. You may not know, but Roosevelt does have our own trained contract tracers at the request of Cook County, as they could not keep up with the volume. Thank you to all the staff involved in our contact tracing efforts. Now, Residence Life has requested random COVID tests be completed by 50% of the residential students population and are in our 3rd week of the testing program. The other 50% is slated to be tested over the next few weeks. And as of last week, they received results from 20% of the entire residential student population. And again, the results were 0 positive cases. So thank you to our students for complying with the testing protocols, and to the residence hall staff and security staff for helping keep our entire community safe. We're also randomly testing our essential workers who are on campus to ensure the continued health and safety for all employees. As I had mentioned to you previously, we're awaiting UIC's assistance in ramping up our testing. And apparently they're very close to being ready. And we will have some information for you in that regard. Now, for the health and safety of the Roosevelt community, all classes will be fully remote as of Monday, November 30th, through the conclusion of the winter break. Although classes will be remote during this time, our residence halls will remain open. Now, residential students who plan to return to the residence halls after Thanksgiving break will be required to obtain a negative COVID test through Roosevelt's testing program. More information about this will be sent directly to residents and their parents in the near future. Now, the provost has also made the decision to move the date of spring break to the week of April 12 through 16, 2021. Just as we're doing this fall semester after Thanksgiving holiday, post spring break, all classes will be conducted remotely, either virtually or in a hybrid format. These decisions were made in order to limit the risk of exposure to COVID-19 when the majority of the Roosevelt community will be traveling home or elsewhere. The Provost's office is already consulting with deans and chairs about the summer schedule, which will be announced soon. Now, there have been no definitive decision made about the May 7th commencement ceremony at this point. The Return to Campus Committee and university leadership are monitoring the situation closely around what the safest and healthiest option is for next spring. So we will have that decision very soon. Continuing on student affairs and student well-being, students are now eligible to receive unlimited talk therapy sessions as a benefit of their enrollment with the virtual care group. This expansion means that students now have ability to access licensed medical doctors and licensed therapists 24/7 using their computers, phone, or other mobile devices from anywhere in the United States. We have received quite a few positive feedback from students regarding the enhancement of this counseling service to include unlimited therapy sessions. Now, I would also like to point out that this year is the largest student government association we have seen in 5 years, with 21 senators and 4 executive board members. Thanks to Lily Pribish, SGA president, and Ani Pond, student trustee, for your efforts in this regard. A virtual student engagement platform accessible to the entire campus will launch later this month. I should report that there were 330 students who participated in new student orientation, with the overwhelming majority agreeing that it made them feel better prepared to start their first semester at Roosevelt University. Now, I'm impressed and proud about the connectivity, engagement, and interactions we are seeing with our students right now. It is a true testament that regardless of the boundaries put on us, we will persevere and embrace the options that we have. Now, a word about athletics. After being dormant since the middle of March, this past week, limited team activities resumed within our athletic department to begin taking incremental steps towards competitive seasons, which were postponed until early 2021. I'm very appreciative of the purposeful work done by our athletic department and coaches and staff to create a detailed plan to provide engagement opportunities for our student athletes in a safe way. Now, as a member of the Council of Presidents for Athletic Conference, I am very proud of the Roosevelt community's response to and balancing the desire of a return to competition and keeping the community safe. Now on to the third topic, updating you on the budget. Since the pandemic, we have provided updates around the financial impacts of our operations and budget. We prepare for factors that could negatively impact the university. We look at projections of enrollment, how many students will be living in the dorms, how many will be eating on campus, conventions and organizations leasing our spaces, and so on. I make a number of conservative decisions under these assumptions, knowing that situations are very fluid and will change. Now, this pandemic was not something we could have expected to this extent. Just like any well-run organization, we have to rethink and adjust the way we operate in order to run Roosevelt in a sustainable way, providing students with the best education possible. Of course, all decisions are based on the fundamental principles of our building a stronger university and becoming academically and financially stronger. So let me be clear, our operational model has shifted, and we must adapt and leverage our strengths and resources. Students have been taking courses online or a combination of face-to-face and virtual. Roosevelt needs to continue to seek ways on how to improve this experience. Now, I do realize that the faculty continue to invest even more time in planning, organizing, tracking, following up, grading, and so forth in this format. Thank you. How can we help our students and faculty with these efforts and invest in technology and training in this new environment? What we know is that the investments for this type of course delivery far exceeds the ones for in-person instruction. And knowing that the pandemic will be with us and might even come back, we must prepare. And this creates an opportunity to leverage these strengths in technology and teaching methodology. What I'm most proud of is how you have each kept our students at the center of your concern in order to help them stay on their degree path and graduate on time. You have all done a great job, and I will continue to reiterate how proud I am of your efforts. Now, this is why we are making decisions today based on what we expect for 2021 and even 2022. To put it in perspective, Roosevelt has been on a multi-year path to eliminating budget deficits that have gone on for far too long, and we have been making great strides. For the fiscal year that just ended on August 31st, we will beat our plan of a $4.7 million deficit by about $1 million. This would be the third year in a row that we have performed better than planned, and each year shrinking the deficit further. Now, for the current year, the challenges of the pandemic, which has affected sources of revenue for the university, has made our task even more difficult. Now, those challenges notwithstanding, the university has been directed by the Board of Trustees to achieve a balanced budget by August 31st, 2021. That's this current year. And we are working proactively to do so. For example, we made the decision to eliminate a number of positions continued our hiring freeze, and will not be filling non-essential open position in most areas this fiscal year. Our managers have also made necessary reallocations of resources to better serve our students. Now, with these actions, I believe that we can achieve a balanced budget. However, please understand, if further budget cuts become necessary, it will include all faculty, staff, and administration, and it may have measures such as furloughs, permanent salary reductions, and temporary retirement benefit cuts, among other measures that we have to make. We will consult, of course, with the Planning and Budget Committee and the Senate Executive Committee on these actions. Now, one thing is clear, we cannot increase the tuition on our students. They are hurting as is. So in sum, to achieve a balanced budget, we're diligently following the Building a Stronger Roosevelt plan today and long-term by improving retention, where significant progress has already been made over the past 3 years, increasing enrollment for spring and summer, fall 2021 and beyond, controlling and reducing costs already begun, and creating greater efficiencies of scale and better utilization of the significant technological investments that we have made in the last few years. And also developing new revenue generating partnerships like those just announced with Columbia College of Hollywood and urban prep academies. So let me reiterate that Roosevelt University will continue to monitor all aspects of our university continuously and diligently, making changes as needed. This is a hallmark of a well-run organization. Now, privately, I have heard from a number of our colleagues who have mentioned to me that they support our efforts in balancing the budget once and for all and our fiscal prudence. Well, thank you for those words. Now, despite these increasing challenges, the enrollment management team is expanding methods to promote our programs and communicate with prospective students in a virtual arena by moving open houses and admission events to a virtual format, creating virtual campus tours, and conducting admission interviews online. These are just some of the examples of retooling our resources to better attract and retain students who can be future Roosevelt University students and then alumni. Now, topic number 4, the successful integration of Robert Morris and the announcement of the new College of Science, Health, and Pharmacy. Last week, we announced the new College of Science, Health, and Pharmacy. Provost Becker, myself, and the deans, Dr. Melissa Hogan and Dr. Kelly Wentz Hunter, are all very excited. This college positions Roosevelt to become an even stronger leader with one of the most comprehensive health sciences education offerings for undergraduate and graduate students. It is a direct result of this year's successful integration with Robert Morris. The integration provided the opportunity to expand Roosevelt's already strong and successful offerings in healthcare programs, including bachelor's degrees in nursing and exercise, health, and wellness. These Robert Morris programs complement Roosevelt's existing footprint in health sciences, thus creating a leading university in health sciences education. Our current students can expect a smooth transition with the same high quality interaction and support from faculty and staff. In addition, students' advisors will not change. The graduates of these programs will be our future leaders in an expanded and challenging healthcare industry, the importance of which has been magnified during this pandemic. And I can't wait to witness their growth and achieve their goals. Now I'm going to pause at this moment before just brief concluding remarks, and before we get to Q&A, I want to introduce Dean Melissa Hogan, because once in a while I hear, well, every day I hear about amazing work of our faculty in the classroom and the stories they have about their student success. But once in a while, the story, it is so out of the ordinary that we need to all hear it. So I just invited Dean Hogan today to join me at this moment and tell you a little bit about one of her students in the College of Pharmacy, or in the College of Science, Health, and Pharmacy, but the pharmacy part of that. Dean Hogan.
Thanks, Ali. Yeah, this student is just an amazing individual, and the work that has been done with him because of his special circumstances really highlight how caring our faculty are. So our student had a pretty unusual path into our program. He actually immigrated to the US when his father won the US visa lottery. He was nearly completing his pharmacy program in Nigeria when his family came over. So he had to start over. He had to do his prerequisites. He earned his bachelor's degree and then was going to start in our college. And just before he started last summer, he developed a really serious medical problem. But he wanted to persist. He wanted to enroll, and he did. And he, despite being sick, he made it through his summer courses. But by the time he got to fall term, he wasn't doing well. And he actually had to have a heart transplant during fall term, so he couldn't finish his courses. Fortunately, it was successful. He was able to come back to most of his winter term courses. He succeeded. And even through the pandemic, he succeeded in the spring, obviously taking his courses remotely because it was too dangerous for him to be out in public. But that left him with more than one term full of courses to complete to stay on track. And he was offered the option to fall back, but he didn't want to. He wanted to persist. He wanted to stay with his original cohort. So each of our faculty for the courses that he needed to complete was asked and given the option to teach him individually during the summer. And all 7 faculty individually not only agreed, but agreed enthusiastically to support this student, and essentially taught their course to 1 student instead of to 70. And the student succeeded, and he is with his cohort now fall term, and is going to graduate with his original cohort as he intended. So I am so proud. I'm humbled by his efforts and his persistence. And I'm so proud of our faculty. I'm just absolutely floored by their willingness to a person to take on this extra workload on top of all of their other obligations. Several of them were teaching in summer term, and yet they supported the student in realizing his goals.
Thank you so much, Dean Hogan. And again, kudos to you, your faculty, your staff, the entire team for taking care of this one student.
Thank you.
This is the best example of living up the mission of Roosevelt University. Now, before we get to Q&A, I just want to mention a new initiative. We will be engaging in strategic planning process to update the strategic plan of the university based on stronger Roosevelt plan, making us academically and financially stronger. This effort will be led by Maybelline Kruger. A committee of faculty, staff, administration, students, and trustees will be formed. And the whole idea is to prepare the path for the next 5 to 15 years of the university. The new College of Science, Health, and Pharmacy, new partnerships such as with Columbia College of Hollywood, having a balanced budget, and most importantly, a significant attention to our mission of social and racial justice will be the pillars upon which the new strategic plan will be built. So stay tuned as we will get back to you on this one. And so in concluding remarks, very briefly, I want to remind everyone to please vote. We have a get out the vote effort going on by a team of staff at Roosevelt. Thank you for encouraging everyone to vote. Another reminder to attend the employee recognition ceremony on Tuesday, October 27th at 3 p.m., where we recognize and appreciate our colleagues for their service. In sum, I believe that our community will overcome the pandemic and be stronger. I am really looking forward to a time when we can all be together in person, shaking hands, well, actually fist bumping in my case, hosting interesting forums and debates, watching our Laker athletic teams compete again, and hosting another ping pong challenge with our students. I appreciate all the efforts everyone has expended in really such a short period of time. I don't say it enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I would like to close with a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "A mature person is one who does not think only in absolutes, who is able to be objective even when deeply stirred emotionally, who has learned that there is both good and bad in all people and in all things, and who walks humbly and deals charitably with the circumstances of life, knowing that in this world, no one is all-knowing, and therefore all of us need both love and charity." End of quote. Now we will open the floor to Q&A.
Okay. First question. What are plans if we cannot return to campus as scheduled in January 2021?
Okay, and I will mention a couple of things, and then maybe Provost Becker can more fully answer the question. We will all monitor how COVID is doing, and if there is a pandemic, the pandemic continues, and there are surges going on, and we have cases on campus that would make it an unsafe place, we will go entirely remote as we did last March. Provost Becker?
Yes, that is the plan. Right now, we have a limited number of classes, just as in fall term, that are scheduled in the spring to be face-to-face. And if, in fact, we cannot hold those classes, then we will go entirely remote. But we've been careful to schedule a limited number of in-person classes.
Thank you.
Does the leadership anticipate increased opportunity for remote learning for students and remote work for staff in a post-COVID-19 environment? If so, what will the repurposed physical spaces which may no longer be needed across all campuses look like? Or how will we use those, and how will we repurpose those spaces?
No, that's a very good question. We will see, as you see all around the US, many organizations are repurposing, or at least at this moment, rethinking of everybody returning to campus and pretending nothing happened. I have heard, and our vice presidents and others have heard from a significant number of faculty and staff who say that, actually, I want to continue to be at home and occasionally come to campus, whether it's for teaching or have meetings and what have you. So we will be monitoring this to see what happens. Our anticipation is that there will be more and more people working from home if they're able to do so. Remember, not everybody has that flexibility, but once children return to school and there's more space at home, chances are more of our faculty and staff may be wanting to stay primarily at home and then work from campus when needed and so forth. So we will be monitoring that and allowing you maximum flexibility, knowing these are difficult times as we go forward.
Would you please say more about the possible things that could happen if more budget cuts are needed? For example, did you say all staff, faculty, and administrators, administrative assembly members, and upper administration will possibly have salary cuts and furloughs? Is this an attempted? Is this an attempt to implement shared sacrifice?
Okay. Right. Just let's go back just a couple of years or so. In the last year and a half, we have cut a significant number of administrators, high-ranking administrators, vice president positions, combined them, and the second level of vice presidency, associate vice presidencies, and a number of associate dean positions, and combined those and so forth. And then last spring, we cut some more administrative positions, but we could not ask the faculty at that moment to go on furloughs because they had already been paid until May, and you just don't want to claw back money that had been paid. This round, more of the staff were laid off. Now we're at a position that, as I mentioned, we see the light at the end of the tunnel. Let me put it that way. That with the cuts that we have made, we should be able to achieve a balanced budget if enrollment holds, COVID doesn't get worse, and other emergencies do not happen. However, if they do, because we don't control many of these criteria, if it happens, next round, we will have shared sacrifice for faculty, staff, administration, everybody up and down the organization. I don't know what those measures will be. Could be permanent salary cuts, could be temporary cuts on retirement contribution, which we restored a few years ago. Now we may have to cut them again if needed, and further furloughs if needed. Again, I don't want to worry you too much at this moment. I don't anticipate that. But if it comes to it, you will all be consulted through the shared governance mechanisms that we have at the university.
All right. Ali, given the successful integration with RMU, are there any lessons learned for future collaborations?
Well, first of all, we were truly lucky that we found a partner right across the street from us, 64 steps away from Roosevelt University, and we were able to integrate our faculty, staff, students, administration, and so forth. And our financial situation would be dramatically worse if we had not found this wonderful partner that we have. Now, the 35 task forces have been working diligently to make sure the integration is successful. I am getting weekly reports with Niraj that all the efforts are coming to a conclusion to a large extent, and we have learned significantly from this. But I will mention that one of our technical staff mentioned to me after they finished integration of some data that was coming over from Robert Morris, and jokingly asked me, okay, so who's next? Reality is, in this market, it's a shrinking market. And if we want to continue to thrive, we need to grow through mergers and acquisitions and partnerships. Organic growth is extremely expensive and is very hard to do. And as you know, other universities with big budgets are coming into Chicago and Illinois to compete with us in recruiting the students. So going forward, we'll be looking at partnerships such as the one just announced with Columbia College of Hollywood so that we can share resources, make the resulting universities more efficient, and at the same time add to our number of students. But the number one issue is, does the partnership make the university academically stronger? And with Columbia College of Hollywood, we think it does. And our CCPA colleagues are saying it does, and our provost is saying it does.
With such low positive COVID tests on campus, are face-to-face classes for the spring being considered?
I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. I think once people go home for Thanksgiving, we don't know what we are going to face. And as you know, COVID is surging in Illinois, in all the states around us, significantly more than Illinois. And once everybody spreads and goes home for Thanksgiving, it's almost impossible to control it. And really at this moment, the provost, the deans, they have made a decision not to put everybody at risk by forcing everyone to come back to campus. We have, unlike some other universities, by the way, we have given that choice to the faculty to decide what's best for them and their students. And about 15, maybe 18 to under 20% of their classes are now face-to-face, and again, by the choice of those faculty and requests from the students. My guess is we'll be in the same situation next semester, but we don't know.
Don't cuts to faculty lines require declaring financial exigency? Do we foresee the possibility of needing to make such a declaration? If so, is there a budget line in the sand that would need to be crossed?
Good question. Cutting faculty lines does not require financial exigency. Cutting tenured faculty lines is financial exigency. Financial exigency is basically financial emergency. We are 10 to 15 years away from financial exigency. So no, we have a number of faculty and staff and others retire, and we hold the line because remember, the number of students had shrunk. And when we added Robert Morris, we did bring in a number of faculty with those students to Roosevelt University. So there's absolutely no reason to declare a financial emergency or exigency as it's stated.
What do you mean by temporary retirement cuts? Do you mean the university's contribution to faculty and staff retirement accounts?
The university contributes 8% of your annual salary towards your retirement to your TIAA, CREF, or other retirement funds that you may have. Used to be higher than that, than 8%, went down to below 4% for some employees and for several years. And right now is back to 8%. That would be the last option that I would consider to save resources for us to get to a balanced budget this year. Just to give you an example, other universities have already done that. As many of you know, my wife is at University of San Diego. She just received a notice, and it's a similar university to ours, private university. She received a notice that the contribution to her and other employees' retirement fund will not be made by the university this academic year. So it's temporary, but we will be considering that if we see the need that our budget deficit is continuing.
Do we plan to extend work from home indefinitely?
We intend to provide you options in that regard. from my perspective, we're all adults. We make choices. There are advantages and disadvantages to working from home and working from office and commuting and costs every which way that you can imagine. But to the extent possible, we will provide you with options. However, some offices need to be covered. So what we have done, for example, right now is people are rotating of coming to campus and covering their desk or their offices or the mail room and what have you, so others can stay at home. And we will attempt to continue to give maximum flexibility to all of our faculty and staff.
What measures are being taken in the event of rioting after the election for both students and employees?
Yeah, that is a good question. We are always aware of our surrounding environment, and our security team will be ready for that. My guess is at this moment, the way it looks like it's going to be a landslide, and hopefully will not lead to rioting. After that, that's a very good question, and people need to stay at home, and we will do absolutely everything in our power to make sure our students and the faculty and staff who are in our buildings are safe.
Is there a time frame of when we could know about additional budget reductions?
As soon as we can. We have a board of trustees meeting in early December. It could be that by that time we have good measures about where we are in the budget. My guess is we have to go through early part of January, look at our enrollment at that moment and see the progress we have made on budget cuts, and then what the enrollment looks like for summer, because that's also part of the fiscal year. Once we have that, probably by the end of, by the early part of January, mid-January, we should be able to have a dialogue in that regard.
Can you describe some of the resources that are available to students who may be struggling with juggling remote classes and other home life responsibilities?
Okay. Sure, I'll say a few words, and then Lois, and then perhaps Jamar as well can respond as well. We have made now laptops available to students and also tablets available to students through the funds that we have received. We'll do whatever we can to make sure they have access to the technology they need. And also, as I mentioned, for their mental health counseling is now available 24/7, which has received positive feedback from the students. Lois, you want to address some of that?
Surely. I want to thank the faculty who have been reaching out to students on a regular basis, who have been providing guides to their classes. The Office of Student Progress has been providing workshops for students. All of these things are accessible through Blackboard. We are also doing a, led by Cammie McBride, Dean McBride in CAS, and the Heller College of Business have been surveying students. There will be a lunch and learn on Friday to talk about what we have found out about students that are struggling. And then, of course, there are the early alerts. And last year we had about 26% of the faculty send in early alerts. I want to thank you because it is now up to 45% of the faculty. If you do have a concern about a struggling student, please send in an early alert. Thank you.
Jamar?
The only other thing that I would add to that is that I want students to know that it's okay if you are struggling. These are very difficult times and we're all very challenged right now. So I don't want any students to feel that they're the only ones who are going through this. And if you are feeling that way and you haven't reached out to anyone, call us. Let us know that you're struggling. Let your faculty know. We will be happy to help and know that you are not alone. But other than that, I think Lois pretty much covered everything.
All right, thank you.
Well, Lois and Jamar, since you're kind of on a roll here, I got a series of questions for the two of you. What's being done for student retention? And has the university reached out to students with mental health issues? I'll start with those two, and I got a couple more.
I'll take the first. We're not yet at census date. We are still determining what the full numbers are for retention, but in the 4th week of classes, retention for former RU students was 71%. So that was a decrease of only 1% from last year, which is truly remarkable. And in the former RMU students are back to where they were a year before at 45% for a combined retention rate of 56%. Again, using those early alerts are extremely important. Yes, we have been reaching out to students when we get an early alert, provided we have a great phone number for a student. So if in fact you are a student, make sure we have a good phone number for you, and make sure that you've downloaded the Navigate app, the Roosevelt app, because that is what enables us to reach out to you as quickly as possible. Jamar?
As it relates to overall student mental health, we're doing a couple of things. One, many of you use the Daily Self app every single day to come into Roosevelt and let us know how you're doing physically. We're right now developing a mental health-based app that students will be allowed to access every single day and say, hey, I'm struggling mentally, or I feel isolated, or I'm really struggling academically. And that will then go to our student of concern team, who will then reach out to students to make sure that they're okay and on a better track. So that'll be coming very, very shortly. In addition, as Ali mentioned, virtual care group. I really want to just keep plugging that. That is unlimited 24/7, 365 counseling. There is no wait. There's no wait list. And students can always get access to a counselor no matter where they are in the United States. This is not only for students who are in the state of Illinois. And then lastly, we just rolled out a new program called Mental Health Mondays. So every single Monday, students who are feeling isolated or alone or stressed out really during this time will have an opportunity to either connect with other people, or find within themselves time to just reflect and decompress through activities, reflexology, yoga, and different things like that. So please look out in your email, students, for Mental Health Mondays as well.
And if I may, please use the tutoring tool that is available through Blackboard. It is 24/7 tutoring. And so you can reach out to somebody and really get some kind of response, I am told, even at 3 a.m.
Okay.
There are a number of students who are having trouble with Zoom. Is there a check-in or a process where we're reaching out to students to assist them?
Zoom, my favorite platform. Imagine if we didn't have Zoom, what we would do, and so forth. But I will let Niraj answer that question if he's on. If not, many of you who know more about Zoom than I do in that regard can jump in and answer that question. There's Niraj. Go ahead, Niraj.
All right, I'm here. So for Zoom, what we've guided the students to do is to contact us, because we can, other than through generic messaging, we cannot reach out and know about individual issues. So we let the students inform us or prompt us when they are having an issue. They reach out generally to our help desk, which is available. There's a knowledge base there, and we've posted a lot of content for self-help purposes, so they can easily troubleshoot the issues that they may be encountering. Usually when we've heard about an issue that's been a global issue that everyone else is having as well, it's not just unique to Roosevelt. But other than that, the tool thankfully is so easy to use that most people are able to figure out on their own. And through a lot of the self-help that we've posted both on Blackboard and on roosevelt.edu website, or on our help desk website, which is roosevelt.edu/helpdesk. So they are able to answer and address, get all the help they need on their own. But if they still have issues, they can open up a ticket. So the help desk or a tech support individual can then reach back out to them and help them as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Niraj. Michael?
Will members of the strategic planning effort be elected by their constituents at Roosevelt University? If not, could this be considered in order to further the principles of shared governance?
Right. Again, we just started this effort. Maybelline Kruger will be contacting the Senate, the SGA, the Board of Trustees, Council of Deans, Provost Office, all the vice presidents to ask for members. And each of them have their own mechanism to select or elect or appoint members to the committee. So it will be under the principles of shared governance, and we will be as inclusive as possible to make sure all of the voices of our constituencies are heard while we engage in strategic planning.
Okay. Is there a plan to consider closing programs in order to balance the budget? If so, will closing programs possibly result in cutting tenured faculty positions?
Okay. The answer is no. There's no plan to close programs and then let go of the faculty who are in those programs.
Okay. And we are at 2:30, but I'm going to take another question here. Has the university considered eliminating vacation benefits administration, which may in turn eliminate budgetary constraints associated with paying out vacation days?
I'm unsure about what that question is, so I'll turn to our expert, Toya.
Yeah, hi. Vacation benefits are earned over time. And so, as Ali mentioned earlier, we're going to look at a number of things.
And another question real quick is, when will the spring schedule be posted?
Okay. Provost Becker.
I believe it's November 1.
Okay. All right. November 1. So right around November 1, we'll be posting the schedule.
Okay.
Give or take a month. No, it's around November 1.
Right. Okay.
I have a note here that October 16th is priority registration is November 1, and the schedule is available on October 16th.
Okay.
All right. And we are over by 2 minutes, but I did get to the questions that have popped up thus far. And Ali, I'll let you have the final word.
Okay. Well, again, thank you absolutely everybody, our faculty, our staff, our students, trustees, administration, the team that put this Zoom meeting, town hall together. They've been working very hard to make sure that you are as well informed as you can be. As you have seen, we are sending out weekly and sometimes more than weekly updates on COVID, on return to campus, on everything that is going on. And so far, so good. So far, so good. We have been able to keep the campus safe for everybody. And we will do our best to continue to do that. We will balance this budget. You are sick and tired of hearing about a deficit. So am I, so are the trustees. So with a little bit of patience, hopefully at the end of this year, we'll have some good news to share with you in that regard, assuming nothing else happens. So let's be positive about that. I am positive. And going forward, I will say what HLC said as they were leaving the Higher Learning Commission. In their report, the draft that we received, they said, Roosevelt University is stronger because of the integration with Robert Morris. So thank you all for all your efforts every day.
that concludes our Zoom, and we really appreciate everyone's attendance today. Thank you and have a great rest of the afternoon.